image and reputation of the English Premier League. Kwame.
And right then you.
Oh.
And right then.
If it is Ghana, you must match a bribe.
Hey,
but
no,
this
I
one
mean
is
it was
Premier-
akin to a match that we sold. Seriously.
Because
I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, I was like,
maybe I just had the scores. I was like, oh, but this one, Chelsea now is,
trust me. Look, Doc, the scores doesn't do justice to the game.
Jackson. Kwame, let's continue. Why, it's good afternoon to all our listeners and especially to all the Chelsea
Doc,
fans out there.
Doc, which team do you support?
Oh, Dreams FC. You see, my neighborhood, my area team. Kwame, why are you?
No.
So you don't know this.
You are now. That one
Dreams
I know.
FC.
But I'm talking about the teams in the EPL.
You
have
come
one.
to the.
Are you shy?
It says Theater of Dreams. That's the who is the who. Oh, that's the name of the stadium.
That's fine.
If
That's
you like, call GFA boss.
I think you are shy of your team, but it's okay. We'll leave it there. You don't want to mention. I know you don't want to mention.
Well, you see that Democratic, I ask him.
Now I know. Now I know the answer. Don't worry. You don't have to. I should have known.
Anyway, it's not sports this data. It's drive doctor time. Let's talk.
But my mental health is at stake. Chelsea is not helping my mental health, and you're a doctor. You're supposed to help it.
All right. You after the show, I'll attend to you. But Kwame, do you know that today is the birthday of a very, very special woman?
No, tell me who.
The woman who was courageous enough to marry Philip.
Oh, it's Mrs. Nice's birthday today.
Mrs. Nice's birthday.
Oh, I didn't know. Michaela's birthday today.
Oh, yes.
Wow. So what's he doing here?
So, Mama Nejumebi. But that work, it will start in the evening.
Okay. All right, that's
from
fine.
7 o'clock going.
Oh, I see. Is that why you bought Ataji today?
But his pocket also has to be on fire. So I'm making sure, I've given him some assignment.
Okay.
Mrs.
Cool.
Nye has to enjoy the day properly.
It's Michaela's birthday today. Hi, Michaela. Happy birthday to you.
Long life, prosperity, good health. And thank you for taming or attempting to.
But Doc, you blast too. He said the lady was courageous enough to.
Philip is not. If we say we are talking Philip's matter,
doctor, he blast too. The lady was courageous enough, but that's true, Mom. Anyway, we have to thank Michaela.
We have to thank
because
her.
if not Michaela, like who?
Like who? I think you have to read today's case. Very, very interesting.
Very, very delicate case today that we have.
Yeah.
Let me share with you, Doc.
Right.
Lexis, 2 years ago, I noticed a painless bulge in my left groin area shortly after a game of football with my friends. I thought I'd injured a muscle, as most footballers do. I heard the word groin thrown about by, football reporters when they describe injuries suffered by players. Now, the swelling disappeared the next day. Over the course of the next 6 months, it reappeared a number of times in the same region, seemingly growing bigger each time. Now, after a session of workout in a neighborhood gym one day, I noticed the bulge in the left groin had grown bigger and suddenly painful. The swelling was extending towards my scrotum. I was in so much pain. I was assisted to the nearest health facility where the doctor on duty made a diagnosis of inguinal hernia.
Yep.
He mentioned the word operation, and suddenly my pain vanished. And I dashed out of the emergency room and I didn't return. Lexis, surgery in that area of my body, Charlie, that's too risky. If you know what I mean. Come on. I've been suffering quietly in the last 2 years with intermittent pain. I've received 1,001 different remedies from street doctors, and I've tried many remedies, all to no avail. Lexis, can you get a drive doctor to help me navigate this health challenge I'm facing?
Wow. Right. So, Kwame, today we're going to talk about hernia. Specifically, we talk about inguinal hernia. Inguinal hernia. You got the pronunciation spot on.
Inguinal hernia.
Inguinal hernia.
I see.
Right. there's a part of the body most people refer to as their groin. And as you rightly pointed out, if you're a football fan or yes, usually footballers and athletes, you would know where that area is because most people tend to suffer muscle injuries in that area, and it is also very close to a very, very important area that footballers protect when there's a free kick and you have somebody like Roberto Carlos coming to take the free kick, then everybody tends to protect their crown jewels. Right. So I'm not surprised that our friend disappeared from the emergency room when the doctor mentioned surgery. Surgery now, then surgery in the 18 or near the 18, then it becomes even more delicate. So, Kwame, let's start off by trying to understand what a hernia is. So, a hernia is a protrusion of an internal structure or organ in whole or a part of it from the cavity in which it is enclosed because of the presence of an abnormal opening or a weakness in the wall of that cavity. So, if you take your abdomen, it is a cavity. Within your abdomen, you have the intestines, you have solid organs like the liver, the spleen, your kidneys, and then you also have the stomach. So, this cavity has a wall. It has an anterior wall. Most people would know about the six-pack. For example, it forms part of the anterior wall of the abdomen. And it is possible that this cavity we call the abdomen, which contains these structures that I've talked about, could have an area of weakness. And under certain conditions, some of the contents, specifically the bowel and associated structures, or the intestines and associated structures, or the stomach, can make its way through that weakness in the wall such that you begin to see it from the outside. Yes, obviously with the skin still of the abdomen still covering it. So what you see is a bulge, something protruding. It's not that the intestines come out of your body such that you see it. The skin, which is the outermost layer, is still covering everything. So what you see is something pushing the skin up, and it's a bulge. And this is what a hernia is. So a hernia, there must be a hole, there is a weakness in the wall, and then there is a protrusion of a structure, most of the time the intestines, the bowel, or the stomach, through that weakness outside that cavity. So hernia, that is what it is. Depending on the anatomical location, the part of the body involved, where you have the weakness and then the subsequent protrusion, then the hernia takes on its complete name.
Okay.
So an inguinal hernia simply means that this protrusion or the weakness and the protrusion of bowel is happening in the groin area or in the inguinal area of the body. So the groin area is, if you like, Kwame, the junction between your thigh and your abdomen. Yes, the junction between your thigh and the abdomen. Especially if you don't have a pot belly and it's not your belly is not overlapping, it's not covering it. Yeah, but that junction where the abdomen stops and then the thigh would start. So everybody knows this, that there's a crease there. So that's the groin.
That sensitive place.
Hey, Kwame, how do you know it's sensitive? Sensitive. Sensitive what we.
You know, I hear people say that place is a very
sensitive.
Yes, I've heard it. I've read it in books.
Men or women?
In fact, the men say, the women say the men, their own is very
It's
sensitive.
very sensitive. Yes. because it contains some very, very important structures. So there's a nerve that runs through that area, going to the upper inner part of the thigh and all of that. So your anatomy is spot on.
Oh, right,
Yes.
right. I've been learning.
Yeah, there's a genitofemoral nerve that runs there.
Jelly wine.
There's a nerve that runs there. So a doctor will know what kind of buttons to push at the right time for certain effects. So learning anatomy is very important. Anyway, let's get back on track. Kwabi, you are sidetracking me. I don't like that. Anyway, the next type of hernia. So Kwabi, 80 to 90% of all the hernias we encounter in medical practice are of the inguinal type.
Oh, wow.
Yes, of the inguinal type. And then the next one, another type of hernia is called the femoral hernia. All right. So the thigh is known as the femur, or the bone. The thigh bone is known as the femur. So when we say a femoral hernia, then we're talking about a hernia that comes or pops up. The bulge comes up in the upper inner part of the thigh. All right. Usually not very common. About 2 to 5% of all the cases that we encounter in medical practice would be of the femoral type. Then this one is very, very common. Umbilical hernia. So the belly button, or the umbilicus. Most of the time, you would find kids, teenagers, adults with a protrusion or a bulge in the region of the umbilicus or the belly button.
Okay.
When we play area football, we don't have jerseys, so one set will take off their shirts and then the other will wear their shirts. So you take off your shirt and then you see some people with a very prominent belly button.
Right.
And it always has some content. There's always something in it when you press or you squeeze it gently. It's bowel, intestines that's in there. There is a defect. There is a hole there that allows the abdominal cavity to communicate with the area just under the skin. So anytime they cough, anytime they laugh loudly, anytime they strain, they increase the pressure in the abdominal cavity and it pushes bowel through the this defect or this hole in that region. And Kwame, you know that umbilicus is the umbilical cord. What's the connection between you and then your mother? And then we cut the umbilical cord, and then it falls off after 7 days. The first 7 days of birth is supposed to naturally fall off. When it falls off, natural healing processes such that connection is completely sealed off. But this doesn't happen in all human beings, and sometimes it leaves a very big defect, and therefore you see bowel or intestines protruding through it, or sometimes a very small defect such that the protrusion is not visible to the naked eye but can become incarcerated and cause them a lot of pain. So because it's happening in that region, we'll call it an umbilical hernia. Then we have a paraumbilical hernia, which means para means to the side, which means it is in and around the umbilicus. The umbilicus itself is spared, but you see this bulge or protrusion occurring just in the region of the belly button, maybe about a centimeter or two above it, or to the left or to the right or below it. So we'll call it paraumbilical hernia. And then we have an epigastric hernia. Kwame, the epigastrium is the upper central portion of your abdomen. Upper central portion of your abdomen, or they say the pit of your abdomen, right beneath the sternum, the breastbone. If you trace it further downwards, that region, we'll call it the epigastrium. And if that is where the protrusion and the pain is happening, then we'll call it an epigastric hernia. These are the ones that we commonly encounter. There are about 6 more different types. I don't think we should bore our listeners with it. But 80 to 90% of all the cases of hernia that present are of the inguinal type. Kwame, both men and women can develop hernia, although predominantly it is male. And I'll explain. But the female can develop it as well. So it's not only men. A lot of times we tell people think that it's only men who can develop the hernia. The hernia will occur because of two main reasons. One, there is a defect. For example, the umbilical hernia, I explained it. There is a natural defect in that region, should have closed, it did not close completely, and therefore there is a protrusion that happens or predisposes you to having that. So those are not, say there's a disease or something has happened.
Yeah.
Something it ought to have closed, it didn't close, it persists. Kwame, for all male individuals as well, when you are in the 8th month inside your mother's womb, your testes, which were initially located inside your abdomen, they want fresh air. So they begin to migrate from the abdomen, lower part of the abdomen of the fetus, the male fetus, through the groin. There's a canal. Anybody who's used the underbridge at Isiligo for hospitals, that's a canal. There's something like that. We call it the inguinal canal in that area of your body where the thigh, I say, meets the lower abdomen. And the testis migrates from there into the scrotum. So when you are born, it's one of the things that we'll check, that you must have 2 nuts present in the scrotum. If you don't, then we have a condition called undescended testis, which I think we've spoken about that in this on the show before. So, Kwame, that path of migration becomes an area of natural weakness. That canal is there. Kwame, you stayed in a proper little village before, so you see they beat a path to the farm. Even when the rainy season and you are not even going to the farm anymore, and you have a bit of grass or something overgrowing the path is still there.
Yeah.
And when the farming season starts again and you are going, it's easy to clear and find the path. So I want people to think about that. That migratory path taken by the testes when you are about 8 months inside your mother's womb to end in the scrotum, it creates a natural area of weakness. So men have that, and women will not have one that is very, very prominent, although the canal exists. And that is why our friend noticed that there was a bulge in that groin area, and later on the bulge was sort of like migrating towards the scrotum, as he mentioned. Yes, because it is following a certain path. Sometimes too, it is because we have certain conditions that causes us to increase the pressure in our abdomen. So when we are all laughing, we strain, and we increase the pressure inside the abdomen. When we cough, when you develop constipation, so those individuals who have chronic constipation, when they go to the White House, you hear them from wherever, 1,000 meters away, they trying to download their Hotmail, and I think it's not coming, and then they are going like Yahoo.
Is that what you do? Yahoo. Doc.
Oh, there's
Yahoo.
a Hotmail. Oh, you do Hotmail.
Why? What did you eat?
Yeah.
Yahoo. He said, Yahoo. Doc, Papa. Yahoo.
Right.
And they say, Yahoo. Kabuna didn't Yahoo.
Right. So constipation, chronic constipation can also increase that. If you have any condition that gives you a chronic cough, it can also do that. Now, Kwame, let's look at some of the key clinical features. How would you know, or how does hernia present? Actually, not so difficult to diagnose. One, you will see a bulge. Sometimes it is painful, other times it is painless. All right? So you see a swelling in a certain region of the body. And these are the areas that I've usually mentioned. So either a swelling in the groin may or may not be associated with pain, but you also realize that initially, on the initial stages, this swelling, it goes and comes because there's a hole in there, so it goes through, and sometimes it can fall back into the abdomen, and then you may also have pain over the swelling. So if you notice a bulge anywhere on your abdomen, in your groin, over the belly button, and is associated with pain, please, please, please talk to your doctor about it. It may be a hernia. If it's in the groin area, 80%, 90% of the time, you'll be correct in making a diagnosis of inguinal hernia. Unfortunately, it doesn't always appear as a bulge to the naked eye. So it is not a visible bulge, but sometimes it is what we call a palpable bulge, meaning that the doctor puts their hand or their fingers over that swelling, and Kwame, they would ask you to cough, and you feel something come up against the fingers of the hand. All right, you can do that as well. Cough, give a bit of a cough, and if you feel it move, something move against your hand, then most likely that would be the diagnosis. But yes, you have to get a doctor to confirm it. The reason why you should do something about a hernia is that it can become trapped. I mean, this one, you are an expert at it. The hole has a certain definite size. And if something is going through it, if the thing is big and the hole is small, there will be a problem.
Are we still talking about hernia?
Yes, but
okay,
I said, Kwame, what else are we talking about?
No, sorry.
I said there's a hole in the abtia and the abdomen.
You didn't add that one.
And something is going. No, that's what I started from the beginning of the show.
Okay.
So what?
You should have reminded me that we are still on the same topic, because this sounded like a different topic.
What topic? We are discussing hernia. So I'm just saying that hole of a certain size, the thing protruding through it is of a certain size. If it is smaller, I bet him.
Oh, sir.
Yes. If it's loose. If it's big,
Oh, yeah.
it will get stuck.
Right.
Right? This first principles. I mean, focus. If it's big, it gets stuck. And then if it gets stuck, they will say it is incarcerated. Right? Action.
Okay.
It's incarcerated. Then, because bowel is associated with blood vessels, the blood vessels will be cut off. And that's what we call strangulation. And then causes a lot of pain.
But doc, you two, you are some whale. Strangulation, they say, will be me, will be conwa.
But that's the same thing.
Use that one. Why are you going to use this example?
No, but you need to understand.
Obi me, obi con, something like that. That's strangulation.
So people will think that we are talking about murder here. We are not talking about murder here. We're not killing anybody.
You said incarceration.
Yes, incarceration.
Is it
Trapped.
If you murder, incarceration.
Right. So, Kwame, that's one of the things that can happen. The hernia can get trapped. That is your bowel getting trapped in there. And if the blood supply is cut off, the bowel can actually become gangrenous. And you need big surgery to cut off the gangrenous bowel, rejoin the bowel, and yes, it can be a very, very big deal, So because of the possibility of incarceration and strangulation, you need to take the advice of the doctors seriously in terms of what to do about a hernia. Most of the time, it's very loose. It goes in and out. So somebody would have lived with a hernia for 10 years and doesn't cause them any pain. But one day, you may push a lot of bowel through it, so the hernia is now very, very big, and then it may get strangulated. So that would be the reason why you should get it sorted out. Kwame, the treatment is surgical. There is no drug to melt anything. Remember, it's your bowel that is trapped in there. What are we going to melt? If we melt your intestines, what are you going to do with all that fufu that you eat?
Judas sends a message and says,
hey, Wana. Okay, go ahead.
Not that one.
No.
No, not that one, I beg. He says that I had this umbilical hernia, but was operated on in 1998, August. But the substance which was used to fill the hole is still there. And I can feel it as I text you. Will it give any complications in the near future?
Not really. I mean, we lack a bit of clarity, but there are different types of repair. But one of the things that they do is to use a mesh. So Kwame, imagine the mosquito nets that we use to cover our windows. If there's a hole in it, sometimes you just put something in the hole, or you just get a smaller mesh and you paste it over the hole just to seal it. So there's something we call a mesh repair, which is what we do and maybe that's what he's feeling, the mesh over there. I don't think it should give him any problems, but if he has questions about it, I think it would be a good idea to get a doctor check it out.
Ajoy Strongman says, Doctor, please talk about incisional hernia.
Incisional hernia.
She
Right.
says most CS mothers are suffering this complication and how to prevent it.
Right. So an incisional hernia means we've made an incision, a cut. So an incision is a deliberate cut made by a surgeon or a doctor. So you have a cesarean section, and we're going to cut you to take the baby out. All right. And then we stitch you back up. All right. Unfortunately, sometimes because of the complications you have with the wound, you may get a wound infection, for example, and therefore the suture or the strength of the suturing gets weak, and therefore that closure doesn't have the strength. We cut through certain layers to get to the womb, cut the womb and bring the baby out. Now we have to stitch you back up through the same layers. Unfortunately, sometimes because of certain complications that happen with the technical procedure or after, such as a wound infection or somebody putting too much pressure on the abdomen before the wound is properly healed. So we'll tell them not to do any heavy lifting and so on and so forth. Yeah, so there are different reasons why that might happen. The first thing is that there's a technical fault because it's not been done properly. Sometimes the sutures can even rip, come off, and all of that. So whatever it is, if you've had surgery before, abdominal surgery, and you have pain in that region of the cut, please get to see your doctor. There are different ways of diagnosing it.
There are some who want to see you. How do they reach out to you?
Right. So the number is 0501 477 340. WhatsApp line 0501 477 340. And somebody on the team would respond.
Doc, thank you so much. I'm grateful that you shared this good information with us today.
You're welcome, Kwame.
Dr. Al Saf is the CEO of Medicas Hospital.